Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 3 for this news report. Today there'll be 4 parts for Monday, July 8th, 2013. I'm Darko. Alright, I'm ready to go here. Cover some more kind of health news and different stuff, environment. FDA approves new big pharma pill solution for prescription drug addiction. This is where we left off. It sounds almost too devilish to be true until you consider the source. Only large pharmaceutical companies with no interest other than fattening their pockets would propose treating prescription drug addiction with another prescription drug. Now Swedish drug maker Orexo AB has the green light from the FDA to begin selling their big pharma pill solution in the U.S. to combat opiate addiction. Yeah, addiction? I think that's a typo. And reading and writing preserve the brain and stave off memory loss. Says we know reading can make you more informed, and if you're reading the right stuff, it can even make you more intelligent. But a recent study published in the journal Neurology, online journal called Neurology from the American Academy of Neurology, shows that reading and writing could help keep your mind sharper for longer while staving off memory loss. So they tested 294 elderly individuals, measuring their memory and thinking for their last 6 years of life. It says our study suggests that exercising your brain by taking part in activities such as these across a person's lifetime from childhood through age is important for brain health and old age. Those who only had infrequent reading and writing habits experienced mental decline 48% faster than those who had average mental activity participation. Based on this, we should underestimate the effects of everyday activities such as reading and writing on our children, ourselves, and our parents or grandparents. It says eating foods rich in various antioxidants is helpful too, as they protect the brain from oxidative stress and free radical damage. It says you can increase flavonoid consumption by eating things like fruits, vegetables, and the occasional glass of red wine. Fast-releasing carbohydrates alter brain, chemistry and create addiction to junk foods. But it goes on here and it says that few people may realize, though, that sugary sweet foods and highly processed wheat, fortified breads, pasta, sweets actually change metabolism in a similar manner to opiates and narcotics. So it explains why so many people feel addicted to their favorite junk food splurge, and the reason that food manufacturers employ a team of chemists to fabricate most snacks to encourage repeat purchases. High glycemic foods typically found in snack foods and breads trigger hunger shortly after eating and stimulate regions in the brain associated with rewards and cravings. Scientists warns capacity to grow food is plateauing in many parts of the world. Countries may not be able to increase food production because many staple crops are close to their physiological growing limits. Britain and other countries may not be able to increase the amount of food they grow because many staple crops are close to their growing limits. One of the world's leading food analysts has warned. In France, Germany, UK, the 3 leading wheat producers in Western Europe, there's been a little rise in yields over the last 10 years, and they'll be hitting their limits for grain yields. Rice yields in Japan have not increased for 17 years, and in both Japan and South Korea, yields have plateaued at just under 5 tons per hectare. And China's rice yields are also approaching this same situation. So like all the other stuff, scarcity is the problem. We have real constraints in water, soil erosion, and yields, all coming on top of climate change. So they'd say rates need to increase. They're hoping to supercharge rice by giving it a more efficient way to photosynthesis or convert sunlight to grain. And this will probably be what? GMO. So GMO is the answer, and maybe less people on the earth. But there's different ways if people really wanted to. Interesting vertical hydroponic gardening system requires electricity, but not much. So it says here, maybe a way for some of you who cannot or won't leave urban areas to grow a lot of high-quality food on a very small footprint. So you can go in there and check it out. The plant skyscrapers, giant greenhouses, and city centers to herald a new age of farming. The plant scrapers could accommodate hundreds of stories worth of crops. They would use an innovative feeding system, canceling out need for soil, and farms will increase crop yields because growing can occur all year round. Vertical farms would use an innovative feeding system which nourishes plants with enriched water, therefore canceling out the need for soil and the need for food to be grown and harvested in the countryside. So as far as how it works, it says seeds are placed in trays at the top of the buildings and fed through water enriched with nutrients with no need for soil. As the crops grow, the trays move down a central core on a conveyor belt. It says they're all ready to be harvested when they reach the bottom. and each 3 square foot patch growing space can produce 180 pounds of fresh vegetables per year. A 25-story design can provide enough vegetables for 350,000 people. No chemical pesticides or weed killers needed. It says a plot big enough for a family-sized house can produce as much as 16 acres of farmland. 3 staff can process 10,000 plants every 3 days. Geoengineering, or chemtrails as some people know it, are shredding the ozone layer daily and putting all life on Earth at risk. Every day, unmarked jets fly high above our heads and release an aerosol spray into the upper atmosphere. This aerosol consists of ultrafine toxic nanoparticles made up of aluminum, barium, and other heavy metals. These particulates are sized in the 10 nanometer range. Their microscopic size ensures that with every breath we breathe, we're inhaling these toxic metal particles, which are extremely damaging to our health. That's why I always think it's funny when people talk about smoking. The biggest damage is what it does to the protective layers of the atmosphere that surround the Earth. The ozone layer and ionosphere are literally being shredded by aerosol spraying every day. Of course, also pulsing the ionosphere. The way they refer to it is they kind of probe it or poke it, and it bounces back. That's why it's so creepy when you think that they can direct energy and if they wanted to strike you with lightning, they could. Are literally being shredded by aerosol spraying. It creates a multitude of light spectrum and UV radiation problems for all living organisms that reside on the planet. The ozone layer of our planet protects us from solar radiation. When its integrity is compromised, all living organisms are exposed to dangerous levels of radiation. It says this is the reason why the sun seems to feel too hot on exposed skin in a short period of time. Our skin was not designed to be exposed to this amount of UV radiation, nor were our visual processing systems. Moving on here, Amazon jungle sees rise in deforestation, says a report. So that's a pretty crazy picture. And you got to think about it. It's like just here in America where they chop down all these trees, especially in the Midwest, and that where they just level all these trees out. It used to be all trees, and started planting crap corn and soy and stuff, and grain or wheat. And of course it's hybridized too. It's been since like the 70s, and now and for a long time you've had just a lot of area of farmland taken up by corn, which is basically filler. It's kind of like beer used back in the days to prevent revolutions, keep people's stomachs basically full. So there's all kinds of things that they do to keep revolutions from taking place. But my point is that, you look around, you see all these fields, and you're like, wow, if they would have kept those trees there, that would have been a whole ecosystem, right? But it was destroyed now, so with all these trees gone, now it's just less and less room for, say, raccoons and different types of game that you can eat. But people are so used to not hunting anymore for food, it's just for sport, and buying things at the store, that they don't really see it like that. In other words, you probably would be better off if you just left the trees there and were able to eat from what was there, what was produced from the ecosystem. But this has to do with deforestation and basically paper. Again, stupid, because if they really wanted to not use plastics as much or paper, they can start using hemp. But they don't, in the United States at least. New data shows an increase in the rate of deforestation of the Amazon jungle, a trend nearing a full year's reversal progress. The study also revealed a 14% increase in deforestation compared to last year. Satellite images showed that 180 square miles of deforestation taking place in May, an almost five-fold increase in forest loss relative to May 2012. Brazil accounted for the most clearing, with 59% of the loss in the southern state of Mato Grosso, known for its industrial-sized farms and cattle ranching. They say the reason is government infrastructure projects, environmental policy, and a rise in demand for soybeans and other Brazilian farm exports, which encourage ranchers to clear private land in the Amazon. Horticultural hate, the mystery of the forest swastikas. So, it says a group of large trees planted among the pines changed color to form the shape of swastikas in a forest outside of Berlin. This is a 2000 photo. So some say it was, they basically were ordered to plant the trees on the occasion of Hitler's birthday. Finally, a newspaper reported that it was planted in gratitude to the Reich's labor service for building a street. But you go down there and you read the comments, and people say basically, most of them say basically, tear them things down. So whales flee from military sonar, leading to mass strandings, and research shows studies are missing link and puzzle that has connected naval exercises to unusual mass strandings of whales and dolphins, and they know this. But it says whales flee from the loud military sonar used by navies to hunt submarines. New research has found the studies provide a missing link in the puzzle that has connected naval exercises around the world to unusual mass strandings of whales. And this is proven for the first time. So, but we'll see if they'll do anything about it. Like I said, I'm sure that they were aware of this for a long time. So it says here that these beaked whales, the most common casualty, were shown to be the highest sensitive to sonar, but research also revealed unexpectedly that blue whales, the largest animals on Earth and whose population has plummeted by 95% in the last century, also abandoned feeding and swam rapidly away from the sonar noise. The Navy part funded the new studies, but said the findings only show behavioral responses to sonar, not actual harm. Well, if their behavior makes them deviate away from their planned migration patterns or their food sources, well, then it will kill them. It will harden them, their ass face. Louisiana sinkhole forces wrenching choice on longtime neighbors. They take buyout or stay and sue. So neighbors in a tiny bayou in Louisiana face a wrenching decision after a huge sinkhole opened up near their community. Do they stay put or pack up? So, you know, a lot of sinkholes, right? I have my own theories, but it could have something to do with fracking. It could have to do with just weather modification in general. But fires rage 24 hours after a train carrying oil derails in Quebec town near Canada-U.S. border. Most of you have probably already heard this. Fires were still burning more than 24 hours after a driverless train carrying petroleum products derailed and exploded in a Quebec town, setting off a massive blaze and killed at least one person. They said that they warned that the death toll was likely to rise. I believe it was, and yeah, people went missing. So again, this is another oil spill in like last month. There's been two. That's the third one now in like a month and a half. Seconds before crash, passengers knew they were flying too low. They're talking about the Asiana Airlines flight 214. It says the plane was approaching San Francisco International Airport under a beautiful sky, but it was flying too low, and they say dangerously low. Another thing, too, is that they said that this guy was a trainee pilot. Leviathan's minions, always making bad decisions or bad situations far worse. So regarding the crash at San Francisco International Airport this morning, the LA Times, or Slimes reports, some passengers were found wandering dazed near the wreckage. Others made a beeline for the international terminal, where they were waited for as long as 5 hours to be reunited with panicked friends and family. That's insane. The process was made more difficult and slower by a series of screenings conducted by the TSA. Officials spent hours interviewing passengers. So, yeah, and nothing like TSA pat-downs after your plane crashes. God, dude. There's no common sense in this world anymore. Crash survivor says everyone on plane had to be interviewed by the FBI before they could be allowed to leave. Earth once had a second moon, says scientist. Theory gets new life breathed into it. So Earth may have once looked a little more like Mars. This is a planet with 2 moons. This is not the first time the theory has been trotted, but it's getting new life thanks to an upcoming conference about our natural satellite. It's interesting. They call it a natural satellite. There's an interesting movie, too. It's a sci-fi movie. I think it's called Iron Sky. It's about the Third Reich living on the moon, the dark side of the moon, and attacking. It says here that they believe it would have collided with the moon to leave the one large body we see today. It says, in terms the strange terrain on the moon's far side could very well be the remnants of that little moon, which could have left a layer tens of kilometers deep upon impact. So, yeah, it says here that the second moon would have been much tinier, 1/30th of the size of our moon, but after orbiting Earth for a few million years, it would have had quite the impact, literally on its larger twin. So that's all I have for you. Please join me in part 4. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.